Okay, Jackie.
So I met Dr. Monica Gostick through business networking in Aberdeen. And I followed her for a long time and been a follower of all things Monica and all her advice she gives. She is an absolute amazing lady, not just an amazing scientist and a nutritionalist, but she's an amazing individual. And I'm so proud to call her my friend. So I am so delighted to be able to introduce her to this call tonight, because what she doesn't know about inflammation, chronic inflammation, is not worth knowing, and about nutrition, she is the best that I know of that can help people. So every 2 weeks, we are hoping to do calls on various chronic inflammation issues, and it's Monica's mission to get the word out there that we don't have to suffer anymore. We can be out of discomfort, and she's going to provide us with solutions. I would also like to introduce Roberta, who is a great friend of mine in Australia. But before we get on to Roberta, she'll be doing the second part of the Zoom. We will carry on with my lovely friend, Dr. Monica. So thank you so much, Dr. Monica.
Thank you, Jackie, so much. I love when Jackie introduces me. I feel like such an important person. I
You
almost blush.
are.
Well, thank you so much. And I am beyond excited to see so many of you on this call tonight. Now, the call is being recorded in two different parts for legal purposes, because, as a legal disclaimer here says, we are here to give information. We are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or mitigate or prevent any disease. Any presented testimonials here are personal accounts only. So make sure that if you are taking this advice, that you do talk to your medical consultant and doctor before doing anything on the back of this webinar. So just be careful that it's not all a holy grail. Science on this topic is very heterogeneous. So we need to make sure that we know what is right for your body, which is extremely, extremely important. I'm not going to talk too much about who I am. I am a scientist. I am a lecturer at the university. I've worked in cancer research. I've got a microbiology background. But my biggest passion are chronic and autoimmune conditions, because many of them have been present in my own family. And when I looked around, I saw everyone struggling at the young age of 30 and even younger, some. And I decided that I don't want to be next. So I started doing something, and I have successfully been preventing and mitigating the symptoms through my life, even when life throws a curveball at me. But today we are here to talk about fibromyalgia. I decided to start with this condition because it's so prevalent in the UK, in Scotland, and amongst my friends, not just clients, but also my friends. Many of them have fibromyalgia, and I assume many of you here struggle with the symptoms or know someone who does. So, as you can see here on the screen, quite a lot of symptoms are they're a little bit vague. Like, it's very difficult to diagnose fibromyalgia because you have a headache and you have muscular pains and your skin is having some rashes, or you've got some joint dysfunction or some pain in your chest. And it's just these symptoms that are so disconnected seemingly, that is very, very difficult for fibromyalgia to get diagnosed. And I'm sure that if any of these symptoms you have, that you will know very well how they impact your life. Now, if I go from specific scientific background, what is fibromyalgia? You get the diagnosis from your doctor, an official diagnosis, because you usually have a widespread pain, but also present some other conditions such as fatigue and cognitive issues, sleep disturbances. We are all quite familiar with fibrofog, I believe. Yeah, if you do struggle with fibrofog, pop it in the comments. Can I just ask everyone in the background to mute themselves as you are joining the call? Thank you very much. So fibro fog is one of the biggest things that people do struggle with, and also various different gastrointestinal conditions. I was shocked when I figured out the prevalence of fibromyalgia. So it affects about 1 in 40 people worldwide, which is crazy. 1 in 40 people, there's a lot of people on this planet. That is a lot of people in the UK alone. So this presentation focuses to the UK people. But of course, it's a condition that affects 1 in 40 worldwide. And 80% of those affected are actually women. So prevalent is in women. I do know some men who are affected by fibromyalgia, but most of them are women. If I look at this just as a UK number, there's up to 3 million people in the UK that are diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And from these, about 2 million, just under 2 million are women. So those are very, very big numbers. And I can't even imagine the quality of life that these people have. If I look at the people that already have fibromyalgia, like someone already shared in the chat, 70% of people with fibromyalgia also struggle with other conditions. So not only fibromyalgia, but also comorbidities, how we call them in scientific language. 70% of those people struggle with thyroid conditions and 50% with irritable bowel syndrome. So if we look at that, it's not just our skeletal muscles, it's also our inner organs. They are affected by that. I can see some people are confirming that they struggle with IBS, and I feel very empathetic to that, because I can imagine how difficult it is to not only live with widespread pain, but also incredible gastrointestinal discomfort. Now, unfortunately, experts don't know what causes fibromyalgia, and it's very discouraging to hear that there is no cure for it. However, there are ways that you can help mitigate the symptoms and help deal with this, but it's a multifactorial approach. So there isn't a one pill solution for that, unfortunately. Can I ask everyone to please mute in the background? Thank you. We've got people that are talking. Thank you. Kay, can you please mute? Awesome. We're going to try if I can mute everyone. And we've got risk factors such as age, stress levels, the gender, various infections, chronic conditions, and traumas. Now, this is very interesting, and most people don't know that, but you can actually get diagnosed with fibromyalgia after you have been traumatized by something. And one of these things actually can be childbirth. Okay, here we go. Everyone should be muted now. So it is quite interesting that, trauma can start the fibromyalgia onset. Now, a lot of times we've looked at fibromyalgia and thought, it is a chronic condition. But recently, there have been possible links with recent studies that suggest that fibromyalgia actually could have autoimmune links. And many patients with fibromyalgia also have autoimmune disorders. There's quite a lot of comorbidities with fibromyalgia, such as lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and Sjögren's syndrome. Now, Sjögren's syndrome has been already mentioned in our comments, so there we go. We have one of the lived experience already there. And as I said, it is extremely complex condition. So why am I mentioning autoimmune conditions here with fibromyalgia? Why am I mentioning chronic conditions? Why am I mentioning chronic inflammation? There is a link between chronic inflammation and autoimmunity, and there's a strong link between chronic inflammation and chronic conditions. I'm going to get to this in a minute. But many autoimmune conditions also involve inflammatory processes. What does that mean in layman term? Inflammation, inflammatory processes, your immune system. In autoimmune conditions, your immune system, instead of targeting the bodies and the virus and the bacteria and the protein that cause irritation in your body, they turn against your own body cell. And that is what is so dangerous, because then this immune system starts triggering a lot of inflammation against your own cells rather than against the invaders. And this is why autoimmune conditions are quite intense, and why you have to go on to immune suppressant medication. So fibromyalgia and autoimmune conditions can both involve imbalances in various different molecules. We call them cytokines. And if you've ever heard of the term cytokine storm, this is what happens when there's a big infection and all the cells that are supposed to fix that come and try and deal with this. And those are also cytokines. Now, two very important terms here that are involved in fibromyalgia and autoimmune conditions are leaky gut and microbiome. If you've ever heard of leaky gut syndrome, it is the syndrome of our gut not having strong mucosal intestinal walls and allowing the contents of the gut, so basically the digested food and everything else that we have in there, to get into our bloodstream. It can lead to a lot of different chronic conditions. It can lead to sepsis, but it can also lead to autoimmune conditions. And microbiome are the bacteria and everything else in our gut that actually eat the food that we eat. This is why it's important to understand how to eat to manage chronic conditions. And this is what I do in my business as well, is I teach people anti-inflammatory nutrition, because these bugs eat what we eat and they go and create what we call bacterial poop. And that bacterial poop goes into our bloodstream and either causes us to heal or causes inflammation. So I have thrown quite a lot of science at you. I hope you're still with me so far. And right now, I'm going to continue with some easy facts to understand and really cement down the prevalence and the importance of why we're actually talking about these things and why is this so important. Because in the UK alone, and the statistics is very similar for the Australia, and probably very similar, if not slightly higher for the United States, but nearly 60% of the UK population have a chronic condition. And we nowadays are dying from chronic conditions and not from infections like we used to. So the modern medicine has been designed to give us a pill to treat the infection, but we don't die from infections anymore. We are now dying from heart attacks, from liver failures, from chronic kidney disease, and so on and so on. So today's reality, really, it looks like that. The elderly have quite a poor quality of life. You see the reduced mobility of people already at the age of 50. And there is high prevalence of pain in joints, pain in muscles, fibromyalgia. Obviously, you know very well how this is. Those are all consequences of widely spread inflammation. Rheumatoid arthritis is inflammatory condition, and there's many conditions that are inflammatory. There's obviously obesity. Now, for a lot of times, at least when I was growing up, we were being told that obesity is on the fault of the person because we're lazy, because we eat rubbish foods, because we don't move enough. Nowadays, we know that this is not true. Obesity is a systemic condition and it's a chronic condition, just like depression, anxiety, rheumatoid arthritis, and other conditions that we need to treat. So we need to have a different mindset and a different approach to the conditions and reality of today. Now, the question is, do we want to live like that? I know for me, that I don't. So if I can be a little bit idealistic, and if I can invite you to close your eyes and just allow yourself to dream, just a little bit, dream. Imagine a world where hospitals are not overflowing and doctors are no longer the first line of defense. Instead, they're partners in prevention to overcome this epidemic of chronic disease naturally. In this reality, we don't have any chronic conditions anymore because we have the knowledge and we have the tools to care for ourselves. Now, this is the world and the reality that I strive towards. And this is the mission that myself, Roberta, and Jackie are all on. And this is what we want for you. So, the future that we strive for is the future for our children to live in the world that is safe for them. They are active, they're happy, they're healthy. When you have healthy and happy adults, then you have happier and healthier world. When aging is not a disease, but a healthy process where you can stay mobile and active and you feel good. I mean, when was the last time that you can really say that you felt so good in yourself that you just wanted to go out and move? Because when you don't feel good, you don't want to move. I know, I've been there. I've been feeling so low. I've had chronic conditions. I know how it is to be in pain, to be absolutely done, and we don't want that. So what do we do? What do we do with this, and how do we help ourselves? Well, we start with knowledge. This is why I'm here. I'm here to give you knowledge so do you understand how you can help yourself. But we need to start by understanding the core. What is the core? The core of every chronic condition, and that has been shown by many, many scientific publications, and it is a widely spread fact in scientific community, is inflammation. Now, we have two types of inflammation, and a lot of people don't understand really what inflammation means. We have the acute one, which is pretty much when you cut your finger. You cut your finger, you know that your finger starts getting hot when it's healing, it's red around the wound. This is a normal and necessary process for healing. It hurts a little bit, but eventually that cut heals and your finger is as new. Unless you're me and you slice it with a blender. then it takes a little bit longer. But then we also have chronic inflammation. Now that is the troublemaker. The chronic inflammation is the one that's ongoing. It's sneaky, really, because it's constantly there. So it's quite a low level. You don't really feel it. It goes throughout your body. And if it's there for a longer term, which in most cases is, it can lead to long-term damage to tissues and organs where this inflammation is present. Now, in every individual, it manifests in a different way. In some manifests to health conditions like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, in others, arthritis, but also it can lead to cancer. And unfortunately, it can stay hidden for many, many years. You don't feel the inflammation, but what you do feel is you have poor sleep, you have brain fog, you don't have energy, you're feeling discomfort all over. And inflammation is at the root of common chronic inflammatory conditions, which you can see here on the screen. So it's pretty big deal and really don't want to have this inflammation. We already spoke about the statistics of inflammation and how prevalent it is around the world. We already spoke about inflammation being the root cause of chronic conditions. And unfortunately, our children are now developing adult chronic conditions as well, which means that their lifespan is going to be shorter and their health will decline very, very quickly. Let's not even touch on the costs to the government and to healthcare systems. Through what I do, I aim to reduce the burden on our health system by 30% if we address the chronic conditions. and also the quality of life is not good. So if left unchecked, we will feel the way that we feel. And this is why we're here, because we're not feeling well, do we? So I'm going to leave you with this. It's not a nice thing, I know, and a lot of gloomy facts here, but we are always in the state of either inflammation and degradation, degeneration, or we're in a state of healing and regeneration. So it's kind of like a balance. And what can we actually do to achieve that balance, to achieve healing and regeneration? Well, we can help ourselves with support of nature. I know I sound probably very idealistic, but even old Greek philosophers already said that the food can be thy medicine. And let's go back to this. Yes. So turmeric and curcumin, you have probably heard about turmeric, and turmeric is one of the nature's most potent components that help us with healing. Now, I have taken this photo here from a journal of pharmacology and translational science, which actually shows the diverse function of turmeric against diseases. Curcumin, for those who don't know, is an active component of turmeric. So it is about 5% of turmeric root is curcumin. And it can help, and it has been studied for breast cancer, colorectal cancer, leukemia, pancreatic cancers, various metabolic diseases such as diabetes and obesity, also Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's been shown to have positive effect on chronic pulmonary disease, chronic kidney disease, and various skin conditions, as well as cardiovascular diseases. So, of course, we have a lot of natural solutions out there. The question is, why are people not using it? Well, we are using it. In Ayurveda, which existed for over 4,000 years, turmeric has been the cornerstone of this medicine. I think we in the Western life, in the Western world, just forgot about it for a little bit. So we know it, and it's absolutely amazing plant. It can combat inflammation. It has amazing properties to support joint health, boost brain function, enhance mood, support brain health, heart health, and so much more. And it's got a pretty color. Now, don't just take my word for it. What you can do, I always support informed decisions and make sure that you go and do your own research through proper scientific, peer-reviewed publication, which is PubMed, National Library of Medicine. And in there, if you put in curcumin into the search bar, you will find many different studies that are showing in vitro, so in the lab and in animal models, how powerful curcumin actually is. Now, the problem is that turmeric and curcumin is lipophilic in nature. What does that mean? It doesn't really mix well with water, right? Kind of like oil, it stays on top of the water. So it's a little bit difficult for it to get absorbed into the water. And this is what kind of led to many, many studies published in the past 20 years that you can see here on the screen that have shown us how amazing curcumin actually is. But because it had poor absorption, that limited its healing potential. So there's a lot of different curcumin stuff, the supplements online and available. However, the absorption of this turmeric is reduced. So you will have to be taking a lot of it to actually get good results. Luckily, we now have the opportunity to bridge this. And with this, I'm going to leave you and pass you on to Roberta, who is going to tell you more about how to get forward with this.